The barrel of my sister's gun pressed against the back of my skull. The roar of the engines shook through the steel walls, but her voice cut through, sharp, merciless. "Jump with your brat, or I'll put two in both of your skulls." Her hand trembled only slightly, not from hesitation, from excitement. My son clung to me, his nails digging into my arm. The hatch yawned open, swallowing the cabin with violent gusts. My uncle stood by it, face twisted in mock concern. He shouted over the wind, "There is no chance you'll survive this!" I stared at him, at her, at the family I had once trusted. The parachute on my back felt heavier than it should. I knew. She had handed it to me herself. I could smell the lie stitched into its straps. But there was no time. I gripped my son tighter, his small heart pounding against mine, and I jumped. The world exploded into chaos. Air tore at my skin. His scream cut through me. My fingers clawed at the ripcord, pulled, waited. Nothing. A faulty chute, just as she promised. But I had prepared. Quietly, secretly. A second cord, hidden, my own modification. When the canopy snapped open, I almost laughed. Almost. Hours later, while my son slept against my chest beneath the cover of trees, their plane touched down on a private runway miles away. They expected victory, silence, my death. Instead, they met flashing lights, federal agents, state troopers. A trap I had set long before I ever boarded that plane. It hadn't started in the sky. It began with whispers, discreet conversations that fell silent when I entered the room, bank accounts with withdrawals I hadn't made, land deeds signed in my name but not by my hand. At first, I thought paranoia was eating me, that grief had twisted my vision, made me see betrayal in places where there was none. But then I noticed her, my sister. She smiled too easily, stayed too close to my son, whispered in his ear when she thought I wasn't listening. And my uncle, always hovering, always laughing too loudly, his words slick with false concern. One night, I walked past the study door and heard them. Not words, just tones. Low, intimate. A secret being passed like currency. I froze. The house was mine. The life was mine. But the pieces no longer belonged to me. My sister, my uncle. Their alliance was quiet, but the air between them reeked of it. I started counting days, hours, tracing movements. My calm face never cracked, but inside, suspicion coiled itself into certainty. They weren't after me. They were after him, my son, the only piece of me worth taking. I played the role of blind fool perfectly. I smiled when they smiled, ate when they ate, sat at the table and let them believe I was unaware. But at night, I collected evidence. I copied bank records, traced wire transfers. They were funneling funds into offshore accounts, my name tied to every illegal dollar. If the noose ever tightened, it would hang me, not them. Then the passports, hidden in the false bottom of her suitcase. My sister and my uncle. New names, new lives. But no space for me, only for my son. The betrayal was precise, surgical. So I became surgical too. I recorded conversations, left microphones hidden in the farmhouse walls. Their laughter dripped like poison into my ears at night. They called me weak, blind, a temporary obstacle. I didn't rage, didn't storm. I wrote everything down, dates, times, words. I built a case, brick by brick, as they built their arrogance. The day they invited me on that flight, I agreed without question, smiled as though I hadn't already contacted the FAA, as though I hadn't already handed over months of documentation to federal agents. They thought I was walking into their trap. In truth, I was closing mine. When the faulty chute ripped at my shoulders, I understood the final step of their plan. Kill me in the sky. Take my son. Inherit everything. But they underestimated my patience. I landed broken but breathing, my son alive in my arms. Hours dragged as we moved through the trees, my every step driven not by fear, but by anticipation. By the time their plane touched the ground, the truth was already waiting. Armed men, flashing lights, warrants signed and sealed. The moment my sister and uncle stepped onto the runway, their smiles faltered. The agents swarmed, guns raised, voices shouted. Her face drained of blood, his hands shook. And then my eyes met hers across the chaos. I didn't need to say a word. She knew. I had known all along. In the interrogation room, she sat handcuffed, eyes burning with rage. My uncle paced like a caged animal. I stood across the glass, silent, detached. An agent slid the thick folder onto the table. Bank records, audio transcripts, fraudulent deeds, evidence meticulously gathered. Her eyes flicked up to the glass, searching for me, and I let her see me, calm, unmoved. For months she had spoken of me as though I were weak, blind, a fool stumbling through life. Now she saw the truth. I had been watching, listening, waiting. Her lips moved, no sound, just a whisper, a plea maybe. But I turned away before I could read it. They had stolen my trust, my blood, my family. They had forced me to leap into the void with my child clutched to me, expecting death. Instead, I handed them to the void, alive, but ruined. The forest still lingers in my mind. The free fall, the silence before the chute opened, my son's heartbeat against mine. That was the moment I decided. Family is not blood. It is loyalty. And once loyalty dies, blood is only water. I feel no sorrow for them, no grief, only clarity. They thought they had written my ending, but I had already written theirs. The finality isn't in their arrest. It isn't in the trials to come. It is in the silence inside me. The silence that comes when rage burns itself out and leaves only ash, cold, clean, and absolute. They wanted me to fall. Instead, I let them drown.